All right, everybody, what's up? It's your boy Huss. Welcome back to another Husstle&Hair, episode 2 with my man Tywon Hubbard. We're gonna get in him. We're gonna talk to him, get in a little bit of hydrogen talk with him, and let him break down a little bit of what he does. And right now, I'm gonna let my man introduce himself.
Yeah, man. So as Tanner already said, man, my name's Tywon Hubbard, and I'm the owner of H2Hubb LLC, and I'm also the creator of the YouTube channel H2Minutes. And my company is focused around basically hydrogen gas, but really it's for hydrogen for health. And that's a whole new concept most people don't even know about. Last time we ever talked about hydrogen was probably high school chemistry, and it's not something we actually often talk about. And so hopefully during this haircut, I can go and fill y'all in a little bit about me, myself, my company, and basically how H2 can help y'all, how hydrogen can help everybody.
All right, so we are in my man's office. We are in the hub with everything. Y'all see all the water bottles and the test machines and all that stuff around us. So really, man, just talk to me about what all does hydrogen water come with. Like I see all your test tubes, your beakers, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
If I don't know anything about hydrogen water, kind of put me up on it, man.
Okay, great. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you the little intro first around hydrogen water, and then basically break down what I do every day and how I even got here a little bit. So first and foremost, hydrogen water. It sounds like a funny term. It automatically helps. Automatically has people kind of skeptical because we already know hydrogen is already in water, and so water is basically made up of two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom. That's what constitutes the water molecule, and it's the solvent of life, right? And so we all need it. So when you hear the term hydrogen water, you're like, well, that sounds goofy. Hydrogen's already in water. It must be a scam. It must be something, but something odd or like weird. But actually, truly, what hydrogen water is it is hydrogen gas, molecular hydrogen, the gaseous form of hydrogen. That gas can actually be dissolved into ordinary drinking water, and when that gas is dissolved in ordinary drinking water up to beneficial concentrations, then we can actually consume hydrogen water and get the benefits. And so it's truly the gas that's in the water that's inducing the beneficial effects that's going to be on the body. So that's really what hydrogen water is in a nutshell. The concept is super similar to carbonated beverages. It has CO2 gas in it, and it gives us its physical characteristics. So we're actually not really foreign to the concept of a gas being in water. It's just the term itself can be kind of confusing. But if we actually think a little bit more about it, what do we call CO2 dissolved in the water? Carbonated water. So these waters are defined by their dissolved gases, just like oxygenated water, ozonated water, hydrogen water. They basically all follow the same characteristics or classifications. You always start with the characteristic first, and then the title water. So that's what hydrogen water is. Now, how I got into it is a pretty crazy story. It goes a long way back, but I don't know if you had any other questions before I got into any of that.
If I'm somebody who doesn't know anything about it or just being introduced to it right now through you, what are the benefits of hydrogen water and maybe just hydrogen period? We don't have to isolate it to water, but what are some of the benefits that an everyday person would find out and be like, hey, okay, maybe that's something I need to look into or do a little bit more studying on, or try out.
Yeah, man. So I'll start off with the scientific literature first, and then we'll go ahead and get into the specific benefits of hydrogen because they're quite expansive. So currently, right now in 2025, we have more than 3,000 scientific studies and publications worldwide showing that molecular hydrogen or hydrogen gas can induce a broad range of effects for us and for our bodies. It's actually been shown that it has therapeutic effects or beneficial effects for more than 170 human disease models with no actual damaging or cytotoxic, which basically means cell damaging effects. And so with this in mind, hydrogen is just one thing that can benefit a lot of things, but you could classify it as more of a root cause therapy. It's not just dealing with symptoms. So it's getting to the primary drivers of disease. And so because of this, hydrogen can have a myriad of different therapeutic effects or beneficial effects for our bodies. So one of them would be hydrogen can act as a selective antioxidant. Now, that might not be something that everybody's familiar with, but we all know things like vitamin C, or it's healthy to eat your blueberries because they're full of vitamins and they're full of antioxidants. And so we know that antioxidants can be good for us. Well, hydrogen can actually act as a selective antioxidant, meaning that it actually just targets uh, only the beneficial, harmful molecules in our body, and allows the other ones that have beneficial functions in our body, such as, let's say, hydrogen peroxide that we use, let's say, for the immune system, hypochlorous acid, another one that we use for our immune system. These are beneficial molecules, kind of oxidative molecules in our body that are needed. Um, yeah, so hydrogen doesn't target these. It only reduces the basically cytotoxic, cell damaging, the only harmful molecules in our body, such as the hydroxyl radical or peroxynitrate. Both of these are very damaging. One's called a reactive oxygen species, and the other one is called a reactive nitrogen species. They're naturally generated in our body and they serve us no purpose. Well, hydrogen actually reduces only these two free radicals, but the other beneficial ones, it allows their optimal levels to be maintained so that we can get beneficial effects from it. And this is quite different from, let's say, a very popular antioxidant that we all know about, like vitamin C. When you get sick or something like that, or whatever, you press to up your vitamin C levels, or, because you want to kind of fight the cold. This is sometimes some of the kind of advice that individuals give when you're dealing with the cold, right? Or get your orange juice in if you want to get your vitamin C. But vitamin C can act as what's called a conventional antioxidant, and this means that it doesn't differentiate. So it cannot pick and choose. It doesn't have a brain. So it can't go in and say, I'm only going to target this particular molecule and I'm not going to target the other ones. So we actually see that when you take high levels of vitamin C, um, let's say before a bout of exercise, you can negate the benefits of exercise. So all the cellular adaptations and actual breakdown of the muscle tissues and then rebuilding of the muscle tissues, you can negate that whole process or the beneficial parts of that process because you took too much vitamin C and then neutralized too many of these free radicals or these oxidative molecules that are needed for our bodies. Hydrogen doesn't act that way. Hydrogen is actually a selective antioxidant. That'd be one benefit. Now, if I were to name all the benefits, it would be a lot. So hydrogen has anti-inflammatory effects, anti-cellular death effects, it has anti-diabetic effects, anti-cancer effects. It actually improves our actual immune system. It can upregulate what's called mitochondrial biogenesis. Basically, the mitochondria is our powerhouse of our cells. It gives us ATP, the energy currency of our bodies. That's how we run. That's how we have energy. Hydrogen can actually upregulate the process of making more mitochondria, meaning you get more energy, so better energy levels, and improved sleep, such as REM sleep, non-REM sleep, and sleep latency. So like sleep latency is how fast you fall asleep. Like there's just a myriad of different benefits that's been associated with reducing muscle fatigue, or lactate levels, or lactic acid levels. Um, you have like where it improves the gut health. So you have like where individuals have gut dysbiosis, or basically a dysregulated gut. It can help with those things. It is broad scope. Hydrogen is one thing that can affect many things. And in the scientific literature, this is referred to as having pleiotropic effects. It doesn't just regulate one molecule, one function, one one process. It affects many different genes, many different cellular processes. Therefore, it has many different effects.
I want to tap into how you got into hydrogen and hydrogen water. I know coming from your background playing football,
Yeah.
you don't usually see that turn from, okay, I'm playing the sport and now I kind of want to go behind the scenes on some science. I
Yeah.
how did you get into that? And then after that, kind of touch on H2Hubb, how you started that, and what all it takes.
Yeah, man. So first and foremost, I was born and raised here in Kansas City. Uh, I'm a son to my mom, and I live with my two sisters, and so uh, basically I was the man in the house, and I wanted to leverage my skill sets to be able to help my family, and so um, I've always been a big learner, and I've always wanted to learn, an acquisitive mind, and then I've always had basically athletic ability. So this led to me leveraging my athletic ability to try to benefit my family. And one of those ways was with football, and it became the primary way as I gotten older. And so I wanted to be like many people. I wanted to help my family by going to the NFL. So I played football for about 20 years in my life, and I aspired to be in the league. I did have the same pathway as other people that got in the league. Right, you get a scholarship, go to college, perform well in college, and then do well at your pro day, and try to make it to the combine and actually get in. And so for me, I did really well in my pro day, but I didn't have really enough footage from college, from my playing time in college, to really, have some of these scouts take take me very seriously. So I ended up being looked at by a couple Canadian teams, and then also started to um, look at arena ball type stuff. So I started doing that. Ended up um, ended up basically signing with a team in Wichita called Wichita Wild, and I played professional indoor football there for about 4 years as I tried to make it to the NFL. And I got really close to achieving my dream, man. I really did think I was going to get into the league. This would have been around 2013, and during that time, my wife's cousin introduced me to alkaline ionized water. And so alkaline water is really popular. You can go down to any store, and you can go down to the water aisle, and you're going to see alkaline water everywhere. pH 9.5, this 9.10 pH, this kind of stuff. Um, and so he introduced me to this form of alkaline water called alkaline ionized water, and he was talking about all of its health effects and how it's supposed to have all these benefits. And I didn't take it very seriously, to be honest with you. And he wasn't the most trustworthy dude. And so I ended up trying a couple gallons of the water from him from this special machine he had that made it. And I felt like I noticed some benefits in my recovery, like significant benefits. Like I felt like I recovered. I was doing some heavy training at the time. I felt like I recovered about 30% faster, which is remarkable considering you being an elite athlete.
Yeah, for sure.
You become very acquainted with your body. So when you know when something's doing something, when something's not. And so I did. I felt like, man, I was like, dude, what's going on? And so that piqued my interest about it. But a lot of the explanations they were trying to offer around its effects, it didn't make a lot of sense. Especially since I studied corporate fitness in college. So I had a little bit of background in some basic physiology and your basic science classes. So I'm like, man, I know water is absolutely paramount for our health, but bruh, it is not gonna do what you talking about. It's not gonna give us wings to fly away. And so I had a level of skepticism, and man, but it came back up again, man, and I had the same type of effects with it. And so I ended up trying to figure it out, man. I tried to go online and learn, like, what is this water? How does it work? And this kind of stuff. And I really couldn't get to the bottom of it. And so, man, I'm a Christian. I pray to Jesus about it. I asked him to help me, man, because I felt like there was a serious hunch. I had a serious hunch to it. And so I went to start to investigate 2 weeks later. I ended up getting, I ended up seeing somebody on Facebook, really. It was a gentleman on Facebook teaching about the chemistry of these systems that produce this type of water. And so I hit him up. I was like, man, what's going on, man? And he was like, dude, it's basic high school chemistry. They're decomposing water into its natural elements, hydrogen gas and oxygen gas, and the hydrogen is getting into the alkaline water. And so that's what's causing the benefits. So I ended up started to look at medical publications for hydrogen gas and hydrogen water. I just typed in whatever disease model I wanted into Google, diabetes and hydrogen gas, PubMed, and look at medical publications. And I was blown away, man. I never really read medical publications before then, but I got stuck in a rabbit hole I couldn't get out of, brother. I was just reading. I would read a couple words, didn't know what that word meant, went and looked that word up, and then go back, read a couple more words, didn't know what that word meant, look that word up. And before I knew it, man, I read hundreds of medical publications on hydrogen. And I was utterly convinced I found something that was a diamond in the rough that no one actually really knew about. And so I was like, how does nobody know about this? So I started talking about it. And so it was between that and my own effects that I noticed from my performance and my recovery with training that really spurred me to be like, there's something serious here. And during this time, I had the biggest, had the biggest uh, opportunity in my life. I had an opportunity to have a private workout with all 32 NFL teams in attendance that I was able to be a part of with the agency I was with. Only 7 athletes were able to get into this private workout. And I was one of those athletes, and I did my job. I did my job. I thought I was going to the NFL, but I didn't get brought into camp that year. And I was already starting to tell everybody about hydrogen. I was teaching people about it. I actually got one of these systems that made this alkaline ionized water, and was telling people it's truly just hydrogen rich water. It's hydrogen water. It has hydrogen gas in it, and that's why you get all these effects from it. And I got notoriety, man, to the point to where a company in Florida wanted to hire me. And so, whereas the NFL doors closed, these other doors opened up. And so, uh, I told my wife, well, I'm basically, man, we're going to run with it. We're going to see where this goes. I think God's leading me down this road. I think he's leading us down this road. And I worked with that company for about 7 months. It was in Florida. They wanted me to be the lead educator and technician for the company, teaching about hydrogen. And after that, I ended up in 7 months doing my thing, man. I had 3 other opportunities to own my own company pop up after 7 months of being with this company. And so uh, I took the one that gave me the most power, allowed me to own the company as a group of investors. I brought a hydrogen product into the United States, did the research and development, worked with engineers, got to meet and connect with scientists, and continue to further my knowledge about this technologies and about hydrogen therapy in general. And did that for about 2 years to bring a hydrogen product to market. And then that group of investors went a different direction. And so what I was left with was a hydrogen company uh, that I had an open canvas to figure out what I wanted to do. And so I actually kind of missed the part. I think it's really important for me to go ahead and say this part. So basically, at the end of that 7 months, we knew we couldn't work for this company anymore, and we needed to um, change directions. And so, as I said already, uh, I'm a Christ follower. I'm a Christian. And so I went and I talked to God, and I'll have my little private spot. I talk with him. So every house, every place we've been in, I always have my private spot. And so I ended up in Florida. My private spot was a closet. So that was my secret place. I would go and I would talk with God. And I went in there for about 2 weeks, praying for direction because we knew we needed to work for a different company. We didn't know what we were going to do. And I kid you not, I don't know how. I don't know how it all works. But what I do know is that and I felt like God, the Holy Spirit impressed upon me. He wanted me to do it myself. He wanted me to start my own company. And I felt like it wasn't audible words, but I did feel like I felt something say, do it yourself. So I told my wife, hey, I don't know what we're going to do or how we're going to do it, but we're going to do this. And so we went out and I got on my kitchen table, cried to my wife, and we started writing down ideas about what it looks like to own my own hydrogen company and help people with it. And another 2 weeks passed, and I had 3 opportunities. 3 opportunities. One to be a president of a hydrogen company with a group of medical doctors in California, another one with a group of investors from Canada that wanted me to start a company, another one that was located in Florida. So like I said, I took the one that had Mel say and ended up doing that with them. And after it's all said and done and they went their separate ways, the group from Canada, I was left with a company. And so that led me to say, okay, I have two things. I have a bunch of knowledge that I've gained, and then I've also have for hydrogen therapy itself, and I have also a bunch of experience now with the technologies. How can I help people? So I created H2Minutes, which is my YouTube channel. It teaches about everything hydrogen in a simple, fun, and engaging way, because not everybody wakes up every day reading medical publications. And so I had to figure out a way to make that tangible and digestible for people. So H2Minutes is basically research or evidence based, and I break down all the misconceptions, all the benefits of hydrogen. And then when you do teaching really well, people want to figure out how to get it. And so this is where my company H2Hubb came into existence. Already had the company, so we retitled H2Hubb. And what we started doing was leveraging my skill set of testing hydrogen products. And so I started getting hydrogen products sent to me from all around the world from different manufacturers who already knew me from my own notoriety and influence in the industry. And I started testing their products against performance standards that are based on the study, so people can find hydrogen products that are actually going to give them the benefits, because there are a lot of hydrogen products that don't deliver hydrogen. Unfortunately, therapeutic levels, good levels of hydrogen that they're actually going to get benefits from. Go ahead.
All right, my guy, let's do a little show and tell with me now. I see you got a couple materials out here.
Yeah.
Let's kind of find out a little bit about those, and then I know on your channel, on your page, you do a lot of testing, to see if these hydrogen materials really work, or if they're really doing what they're supposed to do. What do you find most of the time in your testing, and what are you looking for in those tests?
Yeah, man. So I think it's really important to do the demonstration, because hydrogen gas is odorless, colorless, tasteless, and non-toxic. So in other words, hydrogen gas is invisible. So you would know you were consuming hydrogen-rich water unless I told you, or unless there were certain conditions by which you could see it being produced. And so because of this, the demonstration is really, really, really important for people to be able to witness it. And so here I have a little hydrogen water bottle. These are these specialized little hydrogen water bottles. You can basically put any ordinary water into it, and then you can turn them on, and they will ultimately end up producing hydrogen gas into the water. And so right now you can see it is producing hydrogen gas, and now it's going to dissolve it into this water. So I've already ran this bottle, and so it's already kind of been, hydrogen gas has been produced and then dissolved into this water. And here is just ordinary tap water, right? And so technically our tap water actually has hydrogen gas dissolved into it, but it's just so low. The concentration is so low that we don't get any benefits from it. And so we don't talk about concentration every day. It's not something you think about often. Wake up in the morning, get your cup of coffee, go holler at your spouse and say, we're going to talk about concentration, density, and solutes. That's just not what we do, right? So that's just not, so like an easy way of thinking about concentration is to talk about water and salt. So let's say I had a spoonful of salt here and I put it in this water and I mix it up, and you can see the salt crystals in the water. As you mix the water up, those salt crystals are going to disappear, letting you know that it is dissolved, right? But when you drink the water, it's going to taste salty, right? So now you know that you've increased the concentration of salt within the water. You were to add even more salt, do the same process, mix those crystals until they disappear. Now you know that you've effectively increased the concentration of salt in that water even further. And as you taste it, it's going to be even more salty. So this is what this helps us understand the concept of concentration. So what we're doing with these different products is that we're actually taking different items, different products, and we're going to increase the concentration of hydrogen gas within that water about 1,000,000 times more. It can be up to 30 million times the amount that's in ordinary drinking water, to get it to a level that's actually going to be beneficial for our bodies. So let's make the invisible visible. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop this, and I'm gonna show y'all how this works. Maybe if it turns off. Okay, it ain't turning off. So I'll just pop the hatch, right? So I'm gonna open this up. And then what I got here is a little reagent called H2 Blue. This little reagent allows you to detect the presence of hydrogen gas dissolved into the water. It allows you to detect the presence of hydrogen gas dissolved into the water. If there is no hydrogen gas in the water or undetectable levels, it will remain blue. So let's say here I got my tap water. I'm going to put it in this beaker. All right, so I got my tap water. I'm going to put this H2 Blue in there. Did about 3-4 drops. We're going to mix it up. It stays blue. But remember, this one over here has been running, and it's been producing hydrogen gas and dissolving it into the water. I'm going to pour some in here and put it in this beaker. And now,
It's one of the smoothest pours ever, man. My stuff would have been all over the camera.
hey man, I've done this a lot. And then we're gonna add a couple drops in here. Let's see what happens. Turns clear because the methylene blue that is in this reagent is reacting with the hydrogen gas, and it turns that methylene blue into leucomethylene blue, which is basically translucent. And so you can actually effectively see the hydrogen gases in the water, right, with this demonstration. And basically, if I wanted to, I could actually continue to add more and count how many drops to get how much the concentration of hydrogen gas is in the water. So now you actually can see the difference is this one is truly hydrogen rich water because it has hydrogen gas dissolved into it up to therapeutic levels, whereas our tap water does not. And so this lets you actually see hydrogen water, and it's not just like some weird hoaxy thing. It's actually we're actually doing something that is we're doing something that is quite common. Infusing a gas into water it's just that this gas is a medical gas that actually can benefit your body. And so I know, as I said earlier, with the benefits, you know, it kind of got a little technical. So I'm gonna break it down just and give you a quick little example of how what hydrogen is actually doing. Hydrogen acts as a thermostat. So we all know that when you go to your house and you want to set a different temperature in your house, right? You're going to go to the thermostat, and the thermostat is going to basically allow you to set the temperature, right? It's going to allow you to regulate your house to a certain temperature. But the thermostat itself is not doing the heating or the cooling, right? It's either going to be your AC or your heater. This is what's happening with hydrogen. Hydrogen goes in and it regulates different processes. It acts as a thermostat. It tells the cell, turn this up, take this back down. Lower this, increase this, so that the cells run optimally. And when they run optimally, you can improve everything in your body, whether it's your central nervous system or your brain or different, just from the cellular level all the way to your tissues, organs, and organ systems like the cardiovascular system, the endocrine system like your hormone system, the digestive system. So these are different systems that are in your body that hydrogen can regulate and influence towards homeostasis or towards what's optimal. Your body's really the one doing the work. Hydrogen's just regulating and telling it what to do. So your second part of your question was when I'm doing testing and when I'm actually looking at products, what am I looking for? Right? Okay, so when I said earlier that we test products against performance standards that are based on the studies, some of these standards, I just use hydrogen water, for example. Some of these standards, such as a product has to hit a certain minimum concentration in the water to be approved by my company, to be recommended, or to be able to be put on our approval list. If it can't hit the minimum concentration, that's kind of seen within studies, then it cannot be put on our channel. So for example, our minimum standard for hydrogen rich water would be 0.8 milligrams per liter, or ppm. That's a way of talking about concentration of hydrogen gas in water, or any concentration of anything in water, whether it's salt or anything else. So, so basically it has to hit a certain level for it to be approved. And then it has to hit other performance measures like safety metrics. Does like the item, or does the product produce hydrogen gas, but also does not contaminate the water with any other negative gases like ozone or like chlorine, these things like this, hydrogen peroxide, because during water electrolysis, some of these particular products can be produced. And so this is why it's really important to have performance standards, because consumers don't do this type of work. But my company does to help you see which ones are, one, therapeutic, two, safe, and then number three, we're looking at functionality and build quality. So which ones are actually going to perform based on what they've actually claimed. And so we look at the claims that the product or the company's making, and then we compare them to testing. So if you say that your bottle, or you say that your product can, let's say, produce a certain level or concentration, and then we test it and it gets past our minimum concentration, then we will approve it off of the minimum concentration. But we'll also look at your claim. If you claim that it tests at 2 milligrams per liter or 2 ppm, but then we measure it at 1, we're going to tell people that it made 1 and that it didn't hit the claimed concentration. But that 1 milligram per liter, that 1 ppm, is actually still beneficial for you. So we always have independent results, so the consumers can find a credible and trusted third party, validation of these products, giving our actual test results, not marketing claims. So these are some of the things we look at. It gets really technical, and I'm not going to get into the deep waters of that, but that just gives you guys a little bit of an example of what of our standards and like what we actually look at.
So I'm cutting you as long as I have, and seeing you go here for this, or seeing you go here for this, or you got to talk to these people. I think you kind of not downplay, but yeah, downplay yourself, and not make yourself look as much of a giant as you are in this hydrogen game. So just take a little bit of time, man. Pop your collar, show off all your medals and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think these people realize who they're getting this from and how much it usually costs to get this kind of game from. So man, just go ahead and give us a little list of accomplishments, or kind of big dog yourself, man.
Yeah. So no problem, man. So yeah, I like to ensure that I always try to keep it humble, but to kind of help y'all know a little bit about what I've been able to accomplish in this industry since I've been in it. I can say here in the West, I'm definitely classified as one of the pioneers for hydrogen therapy as an expert educator in the industry. I don't even like using the term expert, because when you know as much as I know, you know how much you don't know, because there's just so much information to be known. But I would definitely say that I've accomplished a lot. So for example, my H2Minutes YouTube channel is the largest, most comprehensive YouTube series in the world for hydrogen therapy, with more than 100 videos on hydrogen therapy, all research based. My hydrogen company, H2Hubb, is the only hydrogen company in the world that teaches on the scientific literature of hydrogen, and does consulting and educating. We actually do third-party testing, and then we actually mix in, like I said, consulting. And so there is no other company I know that does all three of these, which is education, consulting, and third-party recommendations. And so my company is the only one that does that. I was a key figure to pioneer hydrogen water bottles here in the United States around 8 years ago, when no one even knew what a hydrogen bottle was. I did some groundwork testing on some of these bottles, to kind of further improve the technology, especially with a couple different companies. I pioneered a particular technology called the hydrogen infusion machine, here in the United States. And that technology basically allows people to produce hydrogen gas without altering the pH of the drinking water. I was the first in the world to receive the Molecular Hydrogen Institute certification back in 2015. And I was also the first one to receive the level 1 certification in 2023, their actual course. And so I'm also on the board of the um, American Hydrogen Health Association, and I'm a founding board member of that. And my calculations on hydrogen water has been featured in scientific literature as well. So I actually have some stuff to tout in some scientific studies. So researchers have taken notice of my work. So yeah, so I would definitely say, as far as a key figure here in the West, um, I would definitely be on basically on top of the pecking order when it comes to information, and just being basically the like Swiss Army knife of hydrogen. I don't just do in one wheelhouse. I can actually function in a lot of them.
Basically, my man saying you're not talking to a little dog.
Straight up.
Before we finish up, get on out of here, I want to look to the future a little bit and ask you, I know, well, you're leaving tomorrow for a function, but I want to know what is next for you personally. And then maybe in the next 5 years, where do you see H2Hubb, H2Minutes, Tywon himself? And then I guess a part two would be, where do you see hydrogen being maybe in 5 years? Because just thinking about it on the way over here and listening to you talk, it's like, how is this not implemented on NFL fields, NBA courts, professional sports? If if we're hydrating the military or something like that, how is hydrogen itself not used more? So do you see that changing over the next 5 years? And then just let me know where you're taking it.
Yeah, man. So I'll start with my companies and stuff. So in the next 5 years, I think H2Hubb is going to be recognized as the premier, and I think it's already becoming this. So I can actually say this with confidence. It's going to be recognized as the premier online place to shop for hydrogen products, that's been verified, tested, and approved. And so it's going to function somewhat as the Amazon of hydrogen. I think my YouTube channel is only going to continue to grow, and more people will actually know it, subscribe to it, and it'll be the bedrock of online learning for actual hydrogen therapy in a video format way. And then me personally, I think I'm going to be recognized as a key public figure teaching about molecular hydrogen in the next 5 years. And I think I'm already known globally, more in, I would say, the hydrogen circles, the industry itself. But I think the industry is moving towards, or hydrogen therapy, I should say, is moving towards mainstream, which means, that's where everybody will eventually learn and find out about it, right? It won't be this small niche space that only a special handful of people know about. I think we already seen it grow in its popularity and mainstream. And I think one of the reasons why we just don't know about it here in the United States is just the U.S. is just always slow to adopt new things pertaining to therapies. That's for sure, because in other places around the world, such as, let's say, for example, Japan has already approved hydrogen inhalation, so the breathing of hydrogen gas, as a approved advanced therapy or treatment for post-cardiac arrest syndrome. So they approved it to do large-scale clinical studies for hydrogen therapy for basically after a cardiac arrest, because they've already seen in scientific literature that hydrogen can improve the survival rate after a person has a cardiac arrest. And so they have been implementing it into hospitals to perform studies. And it was used in China during COVID to treat COVID-19. And it was approved as one of the recommended treatments for COVID-19 by the Chinese government. So we see other places around the world already adopting it and using it more clinically. But here in the United States, it's going to kind of fall into the supplement category for right now. But it doesn't mean we are not making strides towards clinical use here. And in fact, Boston's Children's Hospital is performing a large clinical study for hydrogen for it's called the Hydrogen Fast Study, and it is also looking at hydrogen's effects for the heart for children after they have heart issues. So this is something that is taking place here in the United States. It's not just overseas. And so I think in the next 5 years, I think a lot of people will know about hydrogen. I think it will be as popular or as known as vitamin C or other different common everyday, oh, you should do this for your health. I think it will be known as a pillar and foundation of health, like drinking water, getting good sleep, eating a balanced diet. People will say, in the next 5 to 10 years, taking hydrogen is going to be one of the things when we're talking about the foundations of health. Just predicated on what we know about it thus far, we need far more research. But what we have right now is utterly remarkable, and I've not seen anything come close to affecting as many systems and having as many biological beneficial effects for us than hydrogen gas itself. Whether that's in its various forms, whether it's drinking hydrogen water, breathing hydrogen gas, whether it's taking hydrogen baths. You can even bathe. You can bathe. You can put hydrogen gas into your bathtub, and they've seen it be beneficial for psoriasis or dermatitis or different skin diseases. So it is something that is going to be recognized, and I think it's going to explode. We already seen that Joe Rogan has talked. People have come on Joe Rogan and talked about it, and I think individuals like that, large scale celebrities and people, are going to be kind of the first to kind of hop on the wave. They're already starting to do this, and it's going to fan out more to the everyday public.
I tell y'all what, when hydrogen water blows up, remember this man, his face, and his name, and remember where you heard this first.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so as I'm finishing up your mustache and we prepare to get on out of here, I'm someone who I'm seeing this interview and I'm intrigued by it. Maybe I want to learn a little bit more. Maybe I want to invest. Maybe I've already, kind of been working on something and I want you to, hear me out and test me out. Or maybe I just want to, dive into it a little bit more. What's the best way to get in contact with you?
Yeah. So I think it's a threefold answer. So if you want to continue to learn, first you can go to H2Minutes on YouTube, H2Minutes on YouTube, and then you can also go to my website www.com H2Hubb with two B's H2HUBB.com. And on there, I have a whole tab in the main menu called H2 Basics. It will take you through everything that is the foundational knowledge that's needed to understand what we're talking about when it comes to hydrogen therapy and its benefits, because there is a lot of confusion. So finding good sources is important. And so those are the key places to learn. I think if you're interested in the science more so to validate it, if you're somebody who's technical and want to know about the science, you can always visit the Molecular Hydrogen Institute .com, molecularhydrogeninstitute.com. I'm also the chairman of education, the education committee at MHI, Molecular Hydrogen Institute, and it's basically a nonprofit scientific organization ran by a board of scientists key figures in this industry, and they do nothing but try to bring awareness and further the research, the medical research of hydrogen. So that'll be the places where you can learn and investigate more. And then last, you want to get in contact with me. The easiest way to do that would be to go to my website, go to our contact page, and send us an email, and then my team will basically put you in contact with me, and then that's how it goes.
That's right. And his links, how to spell them, all the sites will all be in the description. So y'all don't gotta go far. It'll be right in the description for you guys. Well, man, with all that being said, Ty,
hey man, I appreciate the cut.
I appreciate your time. Appreciate you for inviting me into your space, for enlightening us, putting us on a little bit. And any last words?
Nah, man. Man, hey, get hydrogen in your life, man. And then if you need any help doing so, hit your brother up.
Talk to my guy. Come get cut by us.